Today's Fantasy Football Almost Daily is brought to you by Game Blazers, where in week 4 you can play in the all-new King of the Hill contest. That ain't right, Bobby. This is a single entry tournament where first place takes down the whole cash prize pool of $2,500, and just like all cash prize contests at Game Blazers, they're free to play. Take your shot at $36,000 in prizes on the line in week 4 on Game Blazers. And if you haven't registered yet, be sure to use the promo code FFAD when you make your first deposit for a match of up to $100. Build your ultimate fantasy team at Game Blazers. And at Fanball, we build contests for real players, not algorithms. Say goodbye to the mass entry grinders and embrace the sweat with a shot at the payout. Because daily fantasy sports shouldn't feel like a losing battle. Fanball.com is all set with a full slate of week 4 NFL contests, including Thursday night, including the London or Ireland game. It's an Ireland game this week. Ta-ti-ta-to. And the Peacock who pays out $1,000 to the top player. Check out the lobby right now at fanball.com. We're going to talk waiver wire in a second, but first, Less Than Jake.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Almost Daily, my Tuesday companion, as has been for the last few weeks. It's Scott Fish. Hey, Scott.
What's going on, Matt?
Lots of stuff. What a week. I'm a soccer coach, and I received my first yellow card in 29 years of coaching last night for asking the question, did the goalie have possession of the ball?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So I'm a pretty bad boy on the sidelines.
I know. That's what they've always said. Bad boy of soccer.
That's what they call me. Yeah, it's mostly because I usually, spike up my hair and wear a leather jacket with the studs all down the side and stuff like that. That's how I coach,
And it says bad boy of soccer because you gave that nickname to yourself.
Yeah, I gave myself my nickname. Yes, for sure. Scott, of course, running safe leagues. And if you're going to get in a dynasty league in the future, I'd tell you to give safe leagues a try, because Scott always has openings, orphans, and new leagues available at safe leagues, but they're not available right now. They'll be available in the spring and summer, but keep your eyeballs and ear holes open for safe leagues. Scott and I are about to do our waiver wire pod, and I have to play our disco intro.
Yowza, yowza, yowza. I want to boogie with you.
Oh,
You were dancing that whole time. That's the best part. I could see you off screen. I could see.
I know.
All right, the trending players on the waiver wire this week. Let's start with Jackson Dart, who was just named the starter over Russell Wilson. Problem with Jackson Dart here, the schedule not ideal in the very near future. They get the Chargers, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, and Niners as 5 of the teams they play in the next 6 weeks. All top 10 pass defenses. I think Jackson Dart's going to hit some road bumps here.
Yep. In your normal one quarterback league, I probably wouldn't even waste any time on him. The one argument you could make is they're going to be behind in every one of those games, and he's going to have to be throwing a ton. So I don't know what your turnover scoring is in your league, but mostly I'm probably leaving him on the wire in most leagues.
Yeah, I think definitely for redraft leagues, it's probably one where you can let somebody else spend up a lot of fab. And if he's not already on roster, he's 7% rostered right now, but I would imagine that climbs to the 40-50% range by the end of this waiver wire period. And I don't know if I want a part of it right now. I could regret that later. The guy throwing to Malik Neighbors is probably a half decent value there.
Right. He's a stash player right now. And just not really in one QB, and more in Superflex. Superflex, he's probably owned already, though. Roster.
So if Jackson Dart is available and somebody else in your league takes him, why don't you wait that 6 weeks until the schedule lightens up for the Giants a little bit and he struggles through a few of these games? There might be a buy low opportunity on Jackson Dart a little bit later.
I can see that.
All right, Carson Wentz he'll get at least 1 or 2 more games. It looks like he'll get the Ireland game and the London game for the Vikings at the very minimum. Played fine against the Bengals, engineered a couple of good drives, was out by the end of the third quarter, mostly due to the Vikings defense. He gets the Steelers this week, and Pittsburgh is allowing the 6th most passing yards in the league through the young season. So Carson Wentz only a few percent owned in what must be mostly single quarterback leagues on the percentages I'm finding today. 2% owned. In Superflex, I think he's a must own. But where are you at for a backup QB and an option this week?
I think he's probably one of the 3, arguably the 3 best lowly owned streaming options this week. Pittsburgh allows multiple quarterback touchdowns to every single player this year so far. You just mentioned the passing yards. He gets Jordan Addison back as well. That team just looks way different when Darrisaw's in the lineup to when it isn't. For a protection standpoint, imagine what
JJ McCarthy would have done last week with Darrisaw in. I think Darrisaw is just the biggest difference maker in the world there.
He might be the MVP of the Vikings. So if you are streaming quarterbacks, you probably want him. If you're not streaming quarterbacks, you might want him to block somebody potentially, but otherwise I understand moving off him because he might not be starting for the Vikings in a couple weeks. But Kevin O'Connell did not want to say that. So he did not want to say, I'm going to move away from him. So,
well, the Vikings have the 2 overseas games, and then they have the bye coming off that. JJ McCarthy will be ready to play. But if the Vikings are on a 3-game win streak with Carson Wentz, maybe they just tell JJ, you need a little bit more seasoning, and we're going to get you some more practice time. It's possible that Carson Wentz, if things go really well for him, and he's looking Sam Darnold-esque from last year, that maybe the Vikings just give him a longer look.
Yep, absolutely could happen.
Somebody who probably won't get as long of a look as Marcus Mariota. If Jaden Daniels doesn't return from the concussion this week, Mariota's in a good spot start again this week against who are they playing this week?
The Falcons.
I just missed that on my write-up. They're playing the Falcons. There we go. Yep. It's a good start for running quarterbacks, and Mariota did run a little bit last week. The Falcons gave up 39 ground yards to Baker. JJ had 25, and Bryce Young went for 8 and a rushing score last week. So there's a little bit of ground game that can be done here. The Falcons have been pretty good against the pass, though.
Yeah, he's another one that I thought would be a good streamer for this week. But like you said, Jaden Daniels, he was nearing coming back last week, and they decided not to. If he doesn't go another week, I can't imagine Mariota's getting another chance after this. So it's purely a 1-week streamer situation.
Yeah. So all these quarterbacks, I think for us, it's probably like $1, $2 of fab, and that's about it, even in super flex leagues.
Yeah.
So that's all we'd pretty much go on the quarterback if you're looking there. But the running back position, that's a little bit of a different story. And Trey Benson takes over for James Conner, who's out for the rest of the year. And someone needs to take on James Conner's 15 touches per game. Benson was already averaging 10 touches, but that number is probably going to climb closer to the 20 range unless Amari DiMercato makes a big dent here. And I don't know if I see that happening.
Yeah, Trey Benson may become a bell cow in this offense. It might be a league winner. I mean, he's gonna be rostered in most of your leagues. Mm-hmm. He's been talked about on waiver wire articles or our shows or whatever for the first couple weeks. Everything's been climbing. I wasn't a full believer in him splitting with Connor. I thought he was spelling Connor based on the first 2 games, but now that's a completely moot point.
Yep. Yeah, I think Benson, sleeper ownership percentages said he was almost exclusively rostered in almost every league. Other leagues, I was getting to about 55%. Yep. So if you're in an ESPN or a Yahoo or something like that, where maybe the rosters are a little bit smaller. Sleeper tends to have bigger rosters too, I've noticed. So the ownership percentage is generally a little bit higher. But Trey Benson out there, to me, if he's available in your league, he's the guy you go get. And do you want to say something like it's like a 60% fab bid on this?
This is one of those where he has such potential to be a top 12, 15 running back rest of season that you're pushing in a lot of what you have left. I wouldn't be shocked if some leagues people put all their chips in.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I think he's probably the most interesting waiver wire target, if available, that we've seen so far this year.
Yep. And we get a couple of these each year where there's a guy you're like, all right, he's taking up over that whole backfield, or he's the only guy that quarterback throws to anymore. We've seen this happen a couple times a year. This is the first one this year.
Yeah. Next running back is Ollie Gordon of the Dolphins. He saw 9 carries and scored last week against Buffalo. Mostly just with the eye test, he looked really strong on his runs. I thought that he just looked really good. And of course, they have Devon Achane, and he's a really good player as well. But I think that there's room for Ollie Gordon in starting lineups this week. He plays the Jets on Monday night. They're allowing almost 31 touches per game to opposing backs. I believe that's almost most in the league there. So I think there's going to be plenty to go around for the Dolphins running game in this one if they can get it going. And that's touches, not carries. So, Achane can get a bunch of pass receiving yards, and Ollie Gordon, I think, is probably looking at another 10 touch game here.
Yep. He'll get goal line work as well, because he's more of that north-south, big-bodied, strong runner, not a great pass catcher like Achane or even Jalen Wright if he eventually does come back this week or next week or whatever. I view Wright as more Achane's backup and Ollie Gordon more in that Mostert role from 2 years ago. If that offense can get better and they all the boats rise, Ollie Gordon's a guy that could make some headway as a nice flex play in certain matchups like this one.
And remember that Mike McDaniel offense did support Mostert, who had the most touchdowns in 18. The league 2 years ago. Yep, so it was 15, 16 touchdowns that he had?
It was 18, yeah.
18, wow. So, there's opportunity here for Ollie Gordon. Maybe not 18 touchdown opportunity, but it says he's 32% rostered right now. I'd throw a few bucks down on him, 5 to 10%.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised at his ownership percentage, but after week 1 and 2, I can see that having dropped. People giving up a little bit, and now of course he shows out. But yeah, I'd throw a few bucks on him, hoping that that's that. And Achane, despite being healthy last year, has not been healthy the rest of his career, high school, college, or pros, college, etc. So
yeah, as a Achane owner in a couple of leagues, I hope that he stays healthy.
Yeah, I always hope everyone
this year.
does, yeah.
He made it through last year.
Yep,
unscathed. So Blake Corum's the next guy we want to talk to. 17% rostered right now. Had 8 carries for 53 yards last week in week 3. 5 carries for 44 yards and a score in week 2. So they're actually using him as opposed to not using him at all last year. Kyren Williams is still seeing 20 touches per game, though.
Yep.
I'm interested to see if Corum continues to take a little bit more of a bite out of Kyren Williams' apple, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Every time the Rams say that they're going to go away from Kyren Williams, they still feed him 20 touches per game.
Yep, it does seem that way. And Sean McVay did say this is more of what he wants the split to be. But we will see. Like you said, every time we've heard that from the Rams, they just keep shifting back to Kyren and giving him the ball more. But Corum, even we just saw with Benson and James Conner, Corum's going to be the guy if anything happens to Kyren. So Corum should be rostered.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome handcuff opportunity there, especially for the Kyren owners. And as one who has Kyren in a couple of leagues, I got to try to look for Blake Corum and see if he's available this week. 8 for 53 from last week is probably not enough to set off alarm bells. So I think you could get away with like a 3 to 4% bid to
Yep.
get Corum on your roster.
Sure.
Kyle Monangai is a guy who I think is a little underrated right now. DeAndre Swift this is mostly a DeAndre Swift article right here. He's just below average at the running back position. 3.5 yards per carry so far this year. Only 33 yards on 13 carries last week in an effort where the Bears were winning most of that game. And, that should open up some lanes for the running game. He didn't do anything with it. Now, Monangai has seen 8 and 7 touches over the last couple of weeks. It hasn't amounted to anything yet, but it's closer to a split backfield than ever before. And you think that in a Ben Johnson offense where they did utilize 2 running backs a lot and it was a pretty even split, I'd be kind of surprised if Monangai doesn't start putting up a couple of big numbers in the next few weeks.
Yep. He was my pre-spec on Fantasy Football Weekly a week and a half ago or whatever it was, for that exact same reason. DeAndre Swift just hasn't looked good. He had that one huge pass play catch, like a 40-yard catch in that game. And I worry that was just enough to keep him on the field more with Ben Johnson.
Might be, unfortunately.
He's like, oh, that's right. He can make plays like this every once in a while. Yes, Kyle Monangai is a guy that he's going to start eating into it. And I feel like Ben Johnson, as a brand new coach, he's going to start to find his path. Brand new head coach, he's going to find his path and figure some things out. And Caleb looked the best he has all year last week. So things will start to improve, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll flip over to the Washington running backs. Chris Rodriguez, 6% rostered. Jeremy McNichols, 1% rostered. McNichols had the big run last week for a touchdown, which was, I think, like a 50 or 60-yard run. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had 8 carries, 26 yards. He also scored. But it was Chris Rodriguez who had the most carries on the team. He had 11 carries for 39 yards. And Rodriguez was inactive the first 2 weeks because they only kept 3 running backs active. They had Austin Eckler. He was there. And they really like McNichols as a special teams player. So I think McNichols is probably going to settle into that role of like 4 carries-ish per week. I think that's him.
Of note, McNichols' role in that offense in that game from like weeks 1 to 2 to 3 did not change.
Yeah.
Same amount of snaps, same amount of routes run. Similarly, it's like his path didn't change. He just had a 62-yard play.
So this is the gross thing. Do you know the snap count from last week? I have it in front of me.
Oh, they're all right around 20, like 15 to 25. Yeah.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 23. He led. Chris Rodriguez, 22. McNichols, 20.
I do think it should be of note with Chris Rodriguez that he started the game and he played the first 2 drives completely before they let the other backs in even.
Yeah.
And even at the goal line, he got a couple carries at the goal line and Bill did knock one in, but they were even trying Chris at the goal line. Chris was there with that team last year. I feel like Chris is going to get the first crack at staying the starter, and he's a big back that can get goal line work. So he's the one. Like I don't love the Jeremy McNichols side. Let's just say.
Well, I don't love a 3-way split of.
I don't love any of them. I would stay away from all of them mostly, but I think Chris is the one you take the shot at.
Yeah, so I think that if he's out there, it's not going to cost you anything. It's going to cost you $1 to get Chris Rodriguez right now.
I don't know,
but I think that this is more of a maybe it's time to trade Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
I wonder what you could get for him.
I wonder what you could.
It's crazy. 3 weeks ago, you could have gotten a ton.
Yeah, and he scored again last week. So I think that this might be the time to sell high on Bill. And I don't think he's going to do poorly or anything like that. I just think the timeshare is just a little too thorny for me.
It's a little bit of how I feel about the Chiefs backs right now. Like I don't feel comfortable with any of them. And if I could trade Pacheco or Merritt for something of value, I would.
Mm-hmm. Oh, people have been trying to trade me Pacheco for the last 2 weeks, and I'm just like, nope, don't want anything. Not at all. The last running back, well, we got 2 more to mention. Hassan Haskins, for the Chargers. He flips into the Najee Harris role after he tore his Achilles last week. So he's the second running back. He probably gets the first look at that job. Omarion Hampton's going to get an uptick in work, but Haskins is now the next man up, and he is for a veteran of some sort. So is he going to get more work than we think just because Omarion Hampton's still a rookie?
I saw someone say on one of the media things I was watching, I don't remember what it was, say, don't be surprised if they bring in Gus Edwards for a tryout.
Oh, yeah, that would make a lot of sense right there.
So
Gus Edwards, just like Cam Akers in Minnesota, just bring him back when we need him.
Yeah, give him a little bit of run. Yeah, that's what was it? Who came in and ran one? Was it? He's a wide receiver anyway, Darius Davis or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how in I am. I think it's just going to be more Hampton season, but Haskins is going to get your 5 to 8 touches a game and might have some spot starts against terrible defenses.
Yeah, I'm kind of out on him too. But last running back, Tyjae Spears, currently on IR with an ankle injury, can return in week 5. I haven't heard an update, but I imagine he's probably pretty close. But I just wanted to mention his last 3 weeks of the 2024 regular season, he was a top 13 running back every week.
Yeah, he's he had mixed results with Pollard at times, but that's an offense that should continue to slightly improve. I mean, it can't be worse than it's been in the last couple of weeks, really. So I get it, and Pollard has not been special so far, and Spears has the ability to make explosive plays, and he's a good pass catcher. So I get it. Like it's a minimal bid. You are missing one more running back though. That I would.
Oh, who else am I missing?
I would bring up Woody Marks. I hate the O-line situation, but his usage, his snaps, his touches, almost every metric, plays a ton of pass routes. All of them have increased every single week. And he actually does play in the pass game, had a great 27-yard pass or reception in this last game, but he nearly split with Chubb in this last week. Each week it keeps getting more and more. And Chubb, between all the injuries, the age, the low yards per carry, Marks is doing better in that category. I think there's a chance that he seizes a little more of that role. And every once in a while, you're going to have a game you can start Marks. And best case scenario, Chubb falls to the side. Like he had no problem taking over Dameon Pierce for that backup role. And he's already now basically splitting with Chubb.
Okay. I like that. I'd throw a few bucks on Woody Marks as well.
Yep, why not? Terrible O-line, though. The offense is not great right now.
No, not at all. Oh, man. And I believe it's Texans-Titans this week, and both, loser leaves town kind of match. Not looking good for either of those squads to start the year. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. Trey Tucker, he's 4% rostered. He got 8 targets in week 2. Only caught 3 of them for 12 yards. So, of course, he's, completely off radars, but came back with 9 targets in week 3. Yeah, 8 targets, then 9 targets. Let's pick him up. Oh, by the way, he had 8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and is currently wide receiver 3 in fantasy based on basically that game alone.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't feel like it's sustainable.
What? No.
I feel like this is just your basic. Brock Bowers isn't fully healthy, and he's not playing a full complement to snaps.
Yeah.
And does this continue for Trey Tucker when the matchups get tougher, and when Ashton Genty becomes better in the pass game, and when Brock Bowers is full on? I feel like I know it's week 3. You can't pick him up for best ball, but I feel like he's still just better in best ball. I do weirdly have a league. I had to start Trey Tucker this last week where you have to start 6 wide receivers.
Oh my God. How'd that go?
I started Tyquan Thornton too in that league.
Let's move on to Tyquan Thornton. He's on my list. I'll skip over one and move back.
The Trey Tucker thing though, like I have trouble putting much money at a lot of stock into this. It's been 2 good weeks, and Geno's throwing for 300 plus yards a game. I don't expect either of those two things to continue consistently.
I think he's like a 7% bid because I think that there's a sneaky way that Tucker could be the top wide receiver option there over Jacoby Myers.
Interesting.
And I know that we like Jacoby Myers, but the target share is notable. And it's been 2 straight weeks of 8 and 9, and he's beaten Myers in both of those weeks. So I think that's at the very minimum notable, and he kind of is a deep threat. It's a little bit more than, he's the only real deep threat on the team right now. So I think 7% is probably good. I'll put in a bid on him in a few leagues where he's not rostered right now.
Sure.
Tyquan Thornton, you mentioned, he's only 1% rostered. I picked him up in a few places last week where I just had an open roster spot, and touchdowns in 2 straight weeks. I think we mentioned him last week on the show. And in week 2, he just was missed on an overthrow by Mahomes, where he absolutely burned the Eagles defense, and he would have gone for like a 60-yard touchdown. But his 9 targets last week was a big thing, and Worthy could be back as soon as this week, and Rice is still a few weeks away on the suspension, but Thornton might have done enough to kind of wedge himself in as the third option. And I say third option ahead of Travis Kelce as an option for the Chiefs offense.
He's a little more interesting than, he's right in the same path as Trey Tucker, I suppose, where once things get healthier, with Worthy and Rice coming back, will he be the same? I do think that Mahomes has got real trust in him, though, because he also dropped a pass, a deep one in this last game too, and Mahomes went right back to him the next play, which tells me that wasn't an issue for Mahomes. He was still in on throwing to Thornton. Remember, this is a second round pick. That was a second round pick by the Patriots. So grain of salt.
Yeah. Patriots just don't do anything with wide receivers though. So every one they pick, they're just dropping in like a year anyway. So here we go. Torrey Horton's the next guy. He's 4% rostered right now. 49% snap share last week.
Yeah.
Basically plays on all 3 wide receiver sets on the boundary. Had a receiving touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks and a return touchdown last week. He gets the Cardinals this week, and they've allowed the most receptions and the 6th most yards to wide receivers so far this week. So if Torrey Horton's available in your league, this might be the last week that you could get on him, because I have a feeling that he might get 5, 6, 7 catches this week. And if he does that, he might break one for a touchdown.
Yep. We liked Torrey Horton in the preseason. We thought he'd be on the outside consistently, and Jackson Smith and Cooper Kupp would be splitting that slot role and outside role, which is exactly what happened. But we just didn't expect them to go 2 wide receiver as much as they do. That's why Horton isn't on the field as much. I can see a path where they start to limit Kupp's snaps going forward too, where Horton starts to take the outside and Kupp comes in to spell Njigba and Horton. So I do.
Fish. What do you do if you're a Cooper Kupp owner right now?
I think you just ride it. I don't know that you can trade him for anything. You're probably not dropping him. I think you just probably ride it.
All right. Interesting. I'll throw at least 4% on Horton, and I should say 4% on Thornton as well. 4% on Thornton and Horton. Maybe
with Kupp, it's just matchup plays. Like Pittsburgh is a great matchup for wide receivers, and he did awesome. So.
A couple more wide receivers to talk about. Sterling Shepard, who's only 1% rostered for the Bucks. Chris Godwin might be back this week, but Mike Evans looks like he's going to miss a couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. And that means Sterling Shepard is at least in line for the outside receiver work for the next couple of weeks, because Godwin likes to play the slot, but Egbuka's been playing the slot, and I don't know how this is going to work, especially with Godwin coming back from a pretty significant injury. The problem for Shepard is the next 3 weeks, super difficult. Eagles, Seahawks, and Niners, they're all amongst the best pass defenses in the league. And that's Shepard's opportunity here. And I think Mike Evans is probably back after those 3 weeks.
Yep. I would not throw much on Shepard at all. I think there are just far better options on your waiver wire probably at this point.
Yep.
But I think it's more of a note of, hey, if you're in a deep league, Sterling Shepard's going to have a defined role in a decent passing offense for the next few weeks. But beware, be trepidatious about it.
A couple of guys who will also have a defined role for the next few weeks, Kavonte Turpin and Jalen Tolbert, because CeeDee Lamb looks like he's going to miss a few weeks. Tolbert ended up with the most snaps of all the Dallas wide receivers last week, including Pickens. Tolbert was on the field for 88%, but Turpin saw an uptick to 66% as well. And of course, Dallas was trailing Chicago by a pretty fair margin for most of that game. Their defense looks like trash, and they've been in catch-up mode almost all season. They get the Packers, Jets, and Carolina over the next 3 weeks. The Jets are the only really good matchup, but Tolbert and Turpin are going to be on the field almost the whole game against Green Bay this week, and they're startable.
Yep, they're absolutely startable with like shot in the dark, which one is going to be the more productive one. But especially in that Jets game, I'd really feel good starting either one of them because Sauce has been shadowing and destroying receivers this year so far in his shadow coverage. And I would fully expect him to take on George Pickens in that game, leaving the other two to get a decent amount of volume.
Yeah, there should be some good target share there. So that might be a premature speculation pick for me this week. Turpin or Tolbert coming into the Jets game the following week might be a good one. All right, tight ends. We only got 2 of them. Mike Gesicki, 6% rostered. Noah Fant looks like he's going to miss this week with a concussion. His 5 targets per game probably just go straight to Gesicki. Denver this week is tough, but if the Fant concussion lasts longer, the next few weeks are actually pretty good for Gesicki or the Bengals tight end. Detroit, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh have all been pretty bad against the tight end so far on the young season, but Gesicki's only like a $1 pickup if you need a tight end.
Yeah.
And then Oronde Gadsden.
2. Junior.
Yeah.
I think he's got a 2 on his jersey. That's why I said 2.
That's great. I couldn't believe he's 1% rostered. It must be some of those leagues that you can pick up guys at any time.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when I looked it was 0, so I'm going to guess it's just ticked up
Yeah.
as waivers run.
Really early waivers. First game he ever played was in week 3. He saw 7 targets, 5 catches, and 46 yards.
Yep.
The other 2 tight ends for the Chargers, Tyler Conklin and Will Dissly, haven't seen that many targets all year.
Combined.
And the Giants, Commanders, and Dolphins over the next 3 weeks, all really good matchups for Gadsden at the tight end position. It's possible that he could be a little bit of a diamond in the rough, but we could also see him fading into nothingness very quickly.
Yeah, it could be either or, but when it's a position like tight end, I like to jump on it. This Chargers offense, they air it out now more. They've started even dating back to the end of last year. Herbert's throwing it 30, 35 times a game or more. They're throwing the ball a ton. And now they lost Najee Harris. So how much work do they want to give Amari Hampton? I know he had 25 touches in this last game, including 6 receptions, but Oronde Gadsden's going to see some work, and it's clear they like him as a pass catcher in an offense that feels like it's humming. I'm in. I'm in on it.
I'm in on it too. I just acquired Justin Airbear in a dynasty league last week, and I'm super excited about that.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I love the Air Bear.
All
right. You have an Air Bear shirt?
No, do you have an Air Bear shirt?
Oh, I don't have one like in my room right now, but I do have one. I mean,
Nice.
yes.
Very nice.
As the inventor of Air Bear, I must have an Air Bear shirt. Scott, that's all we got for this week. Thank you for your insights, and you're off on Fantasy Football Weekly this week, but I'm on
Yay.
And I hear that we're going to get some sort of Irish correspondent joining the show. So that'll be a blast to hear. I don't know who Charch is going to find as his Irish correspondent, but I hope he can be as good as Colin McCockney.
No one can be as good as Colin McCockney. We actually offered him your job one year, and he turned it down. He'd have to fly to Minnesota every week, and that just was too much.
Well, I mean, now that we're doing the show remotely, he could probably just take it. I'll let him have it. It's fine. Before we go, I wanted to mention Game Blazers, which combines so many elements of DFS with trading card collecting. Common pack bundles are available this week only at Game Blazers. Get 2 packs for just $15. Limit 5 bundles per user. Don't forget to use the promo code FFAD for up to a $100 deposit match only at Game Blazers. This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We'll see you tomorrow, maybe.